Hey guys, Extremely Average Man here, and man, I tell you, I am excited to be talking about this topic. I have, I guess not so recently, but about 4 months ago, finally picked up what's more or less a dream carbine of mine. The CMMG Mutant, or more technically, this is the CMMG, the Resolute, the Mk.47 Resolute. I mean, it's technically, I consider the Mutant 2.0 because although CMMG is kind of streamlined and cleaned up their like 4 lines of firearms, we'll get into them in here in a minute, just kind of a brief overview, but yeah, 2023, this year is when I purchased this rifle, and it is essentially the original inception of the Mutant, just with new furniture on it, kind of the zeroed line of furniture, more or less. I mean, it's the same rifle. But as many of you know, this is when did the Mutant come out? 2014, 2015, I think is when it hit the market. Very unique rifle. Many consider this kind of a weird hybrid of an AR-15, an AK-47, and kind of somewhere in between. It's kind of on its own, too, almost in its own category. It's its own little unique, cool, weird little rifle that I wish they would have kept the name Mutant, because I think it perfectly embodies what this rifle is this little alien-esque. It's not quite an AK, it's not quite an AR. It doesn't really fit in any other family. It's kind of its own little species. So since the original Mutant came out in 2014 or 15, CMMG has since kind of streamlined their line of firearms. They fall under 4 main categories now, starting with the Descent line, which is your bufferless AR pistols. I know the Mk.47 Descent's all the new hotness right now. I believe they have a 16-inch model of Descent, so I guess it really wouldn't be an AR pistol, but regardless, it falls under the Descent line. Up next is the Manchu line, which is your AR pistols and SBRs. Throughout this video, I keep calling this like the Mutant 2.0, but it falls under the carbine length rifles, the Resolute line. So it would be the Resolute model of Mk.47 is technically what the Mutant is now. Then next you have your Endeavor line, and this is your longer range rifles, more precision rifles. All of these firearms come under, there's many different calibers to choose from, so if you're curious to know more, just, I guess, hop on their website. The type of people who are curious about this rifle typically fall into 4 camps. You have people more familiar and coming from an AR-15 background, people who are familiar and coming from an AK-47 background, the camp that sees this as a curiosity, and then you have probably the rarest type, and this is the camp that I fall into, but the AR-47 camp. Because to us AR-47 weirdos, this rifle does represent the ultimate AR-47 build, because it alleviates and addresses the 2 things that can never be completely overcome on those builds. And if you watch my AR-47 video, you probably already know the answer. It's unfortunate, but you're never going to get around the bolt and extractor limitations of the builds themselves. The Mutant is the perfect gateway rifle because with each camp, it'll offer something familiar yet distinct and unique enough on its own accord. The AR crowd especially will like this rifle for the modularity, don't we love that word, and the customizability that this brings over an AKM pattern rifle. And that's attributed to the free float barrel. This is the zeroed handguard that it came with, so obviously it's M-lock, you can put any kind of attachments on there. Got Picatinny up top for any kind of mounting solutions for your sights. Trigger, you can drop in any kind of AR trigger. You've also got the buffer system, just like an AR. Put on any kind of stock, any kind of grip, any kind of foregrip you'd like. You've, of course, got a charging handle also, just like an AR. Now, the AKM crowd might be looking at this rifle as a platform to obviously shoot the 7.62x39 round, but also dip your toe into a platform that's a little more modern and a little more easily, God, I hate saying this word, but modular, to accept all of the accessories such as lights and optics and all that crap. And of course, the AK crowd will be attracted to this rifle for the 7.62x39 round, as already mentioned, and the fact that it will accept all AK mags. So I threw on a Russian steel mag here for props. It's a 10 rounder, of course. And that's about where the familiarity with the AK sort of ends with the Mutant. You also have the crowd who may view this as a curious oddity or a unique rifle that's neither an AR or an AK. It's unique, it's fun to shoot, and there's something that's sort of attractive about that. As mentioned, it has sort of some AR and AK features, but it also has features that are unique to the CMMG Mutant itself. That being that the lower receiver, bolt carrier group, and the charging handle are all proprietary to the CMMG Mutant, or the Mk.47. The AR-47 crowd. We're pretty much orphans in the gun community, being bastardized by both the AR and the AK crowd pretty much equally alike. Since we have to explain ourselves as to why we build one in the first place, I'll tell my story. Well, as many firearm origin stories go, my first intermediate caliber rifle was the SKS. So after shooting that for a couple months and building just a small stockpile of 7.62x39, of course, the next evolution is to buy an AK, right? So I was between the AK, the PSA AK-103, as well as the Zastava, and this is right at the time where the Z-Pap just came out and was all the hotness. So for the money, I mean, dude, it was a no-brainer decision. Just, I bought a Z-Pap, and of course, shooting that for a year or so, as everyone does at some point in their shooting career. I got the AR bug. And, look, I'm on a budget too. There's no way I could stockpile both 7.62x39 and 5.56 to any decent degree. I knew I had to pick a caliber. So, because of the SKS and the AK, kind of did my homework and realized that you can chamber ARs in 7.62x39. So that's the decision I made, and being the little garage mechanic that I am, decided I was going to build it. Build my first AR in 7.62x39 and use forums and YouTube to troubleshoot anything along the way. So that was my plan. Long story short, I built two AR-47s. Got them both to run really good, and man, I tell you, once you dial in an AR-47 and get it to run like clockwork, it is a very fun and very gratifying feeling. I shot both for a while and had a lot of fun with them, but there was this burning and kind of festering question, that being, can you live with the bolt and the extractor limitations? And sure, I could stockpile bolts, spend a few $100s with extractors as well. But ultimately, I told myself no, because I really wanted this to be a go-to rifle, along with my Z-Pap. But with those burning limitations, I just couldn't. So the next step, aside from an AR-47, which is kind of the next evolution, and probably the ultimate evolution, it's what we all want our AR-47s to be, and that's what the Mk.47 Mutant represents to me. So with a little persuasion in the name of confidence, I decided to sell both my AR-47s for the Mutant. And this rifle is not cheap. If you look online, it's damn near $2,000. Shh, don't tell my girlfriend. Which is a bit of a leap of faith, especially when you're on a budget like me. But with the knowledge I gained building two AR-47 builds, I knew that if any issues came up with the Mutant, I already had a leg up and a really good understanding how to mitigate those issues, being a nearly identical gas-operated system. So here it is, my Mutant. Now, is it a good purchase? The That's going to be a question throughout this video series, I think. And I think it's more of a question for me and for you guys to come right along as well. Because there's not a whole lot of long-term review videos on this rifle. But if I want it to be my go-to rifle and serve well for years to come, guess there's only one way to find out. So, this is how your Mutant will come out of the box. Mk.47 Resolute. I guess we'll go ahead and go, what does Grand Thumb do? Nuts to butts, butts to nuts. Regardless, there's butts involved there somewhere. Let's start from the tip here. So, the furniture that's on it's kind of, I guess they call it the zeroed line. Don't really know much about the company, but that's pretty much what's on this rifle. Kind of covering up the grip there. So, it's got a 2-port brake, a little bit of vent on top. The brake itself, it's nice. It's definitely a brake. It's very brakey. I despise shooting indoors, but if you have to shoot in an indoor range, the people next to you will hate you. Even outside, man, this thing is loud. But it does mitigate recoil, so for the sake of a brake, it does its job well. But something to keep note of. I believe this handguard right here is the zeroed as well as the grip, which it's pretty much like an A2 grip. It's got a little bit of texturing, which is pretty nice. However, such a sucker for the ergo grips. I'm just putting it on here for demonstration purposes. And then of course you got the ripstock at the back end. I'll kind of show that feature off one more time. And then I do have my iron sights on here. These are the Troy Industries. That will not come with the rifle, but they're zeroed, they're blue Loctite on there. As you can understand, I don't want to take them off. So just pretend like they're not there. Other features about this rifle. Oh yeah, it'll come with I believe a Gen 2 PMag. So there you go. In full form. I really like the paddle actually quite a bit. And I'm not sure how it was kind of designed on the first generation of Mutant, but the spring itself doesn't take a whole lot. It's like the perfect amount of spring tension, not too much, not too little. Definitely more forgiving than an actual like AKM pattern rifle. I also like that it's got the paddles kind of extend to the sides a little bit. So of course you can reload like in a traditional AK, but you can also use your pointer finger to reload like that as well, which is an awesome feature. I really like that a lot. It might be an issue if you're throwing this on your back, got a backpack or something. You do kind of run the issue of that could get caught onto some gear. You might drop your magazine because of that. So that is something to note. Your controls right here are just like an AR, so that'll feel right at home. And yeah, that's about it. I just realized I forgot to record the ripstock feature of this rifle, so I'll go ahead and show it here. So the ripstock is pretty unique in that this little screw right here, if you can see that on screen, this is like a little preset. So if you look at the actual buffer, and this kind of represents the 5 positions of your stock. So what's cool about the ripstock is you can take this little screw right here, and it's a preset. So however you like your stock, and let's be honest, most of us like our stock in one set position, and we don't really touch it after that. Aside from folded all the way in, say if you're in a vehicle, or if you're putting your rifle back in the case, you just need to close it up. So this preset, all you have to do when the stock is on, if it's tucked all the way in, all you have to do is pull the stock out, and it'll automatically go to the preset position. So it's pretty unique in that regards, and is a little bit faster than managing other stocks. So that's pretty neat. I'll go ahead and just put this in, say the 3rd position here along the buffer tube. Back under. All right, there you go. So you see it's all the way closed. All you have to do is, boom, there you go. It's in your preset position. So that is pretty nifty if you need to pull out your stock in a hurry. Boom. All right, the good and bad. The things I like and the things I don't necessarily like about this rifle. I guess we'll go tip your butt again. Actually, I think that's what Grand Thumb says. The brake, I don't know, it's fine. Will I want like more of a flash hider in the future? Maybe. I think people spend way too much time, energy, and money worrying about the flash hider and or brake. So it's fine. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. Handguard's nice. Looks pretty cool. You know, it's M-lock. Works just fine. Paddle shifter. Again, I really like the paddle on the Mutant. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's other firearms that have something like this. Again, I don't know every gun in the world, so but it is really nice. Other things I like. I think I forgot to mention this in the other segment. This is the zero charging handle as well. It's very nice. I know the first generation Mutant, it wasn't very wide. There wasn't a whole lot of surface area to pull. I don't know if you can see that on screen very well, but they definitely changed it up for the Mk.47 Resolute. That's great. That is for sure a big improvement. And now for the features I don't necessarily like on the Resolute. We'll start right off the bat. There is no bolt hold open. So every time you go to reload, just like an AK, you're gonna have to rack it back. Which, it's fine. It's something you're gonna have to live with, obviously. But it's not a deal breaker. But if there's another version of the Mutant that comes out in the future, for sure, I would like a bolt hold open. I don't think anyone's really disagreeing with that. It'd be pretty sick to have a side charge too. So, I don't know. Food for thought, CMMG. Other things, this is personal. I'm not crazy about the A2 grips. Again, I'm such a sucker for the ergo grips. So, that's what I'll throw on. The trigger itself is mil-spec trigger, but you can swap it out, which I have. This actually has the Geisley SSAE in it. So, other things I don't really like. Look, the ripstock it's a cool feature. It's just not really for me. I don't really need it. You know, I'm not exactly going into vehicles and needing that feature of the ripstock. It's cool, yeah, but I'm not crazy about the stock. As you can see, it kind of bows outward, whereas just the traditional CTR stock bows inward, and I feel like it sits better and more comfortable against your shoulder. So I'm not crazy about the stock, to be honest. And part of me wonders how much of the price is locked up in their development of this stock too. You know, would they save money just by throwing on a CTR stock? Would that knock off $200 to the price of this rifle? Kind of makes you wonder, because I'm not crazy about the ripstock or the stock that's on it currently. Now we'll go into the things that make the Mutant the Mutant. Things that are either proprietary to this gun or things that I've only seen on this rifle. So we've already talked about the ripstock. Pretty sure that's either CMMG or the Mutant itself. I think it belongs to this rifle. We also have the lower receiver itself. So if you're already thinking in your head, what's proprietary on this gun? Yeah, basically the lower receiver in the bolt carrier group is all going to be proprietary, which I guess that's kind of a negative as well, right? You kind of have to buy off their website for spare parts, but in order to make this gun reliable, and they chose to go with the most reliable magazine for the 7.62x39. That's of course the AK magazine. And that's, of course, because of the taper that the 7.62x39 round inevitably has. And going back all the way to an AR-47, yes, the C Products Defense Duramag is an extremely reliable magazine. I have not had a malfunction with it. However, you can't deny that the AK magazine is one of the only magazines that will fully curves with the taper of the 7.62x39 cartridge. And unfortunately, an AR mag that's kind of tweaked to carry the 7.62x39 cartridge, as it goes into the mag well of an AR-15, it's going to have to be straight. So that's kind of why you have that wonky, almost a wonky curve of AR-47 magazines. It's because, you know, the last 10 rounds or so the mag well has to be straight in order for an AR-15 mag to feed. So that's why you kind of have, after 10 rounds or so, it kind of starts to bow out to the curve of the 7.62x39 round. I think just by default, the AK mag will always be the king of reliability for this round. So yeah, the lower receiver is made for an AK mag. Just like an AK, you kind of have your, this pin or this dowel right here is what actually catches the AK mag as it swings in and locks. And bolt carrier group itself is also proprietary to the CMMG Mutant. So fortunately, you'll have to buy charging handle for the Mutant. And this, of course, looks just like an AR-15 or AR-10 bolt, because it is, but it isn't. So the bolt carrier group is actually slightly bigger than your standard AR-15 bolt carrier group, and it's just slightly smaller than an AR-10 bolt carrier group. And from what I've heard, they've essentially taken an AR-10 bolt and kind of scaled it down for the 7.62x39 intermediate size cartridge. But unlike an AR-47, of course, I'm going to keep going back to this because this is, again, kind of my past evolution into this rifle. But you can see that it indeed has a proper amount of material around the bolt there to deal with the 7.62x39. But other than that, all the parts are basically AR-15, AR-10. However, since they're this mid-range in size, kind of between the two, all the bolt carrier group parts are proprietary. So that could be a negative. So you'll have to go on CMMG's website, as I've done, and pick up, let's see, I've got a full spare bolt. I've got a few spare firing pins, a few spare extractors, and a couple other parts. So I don't think it's a big deal as long as you have the spare parts, just like you should with any other firearm. But I got myself a little Pelican case. That's where I keep all my spare bolt carrier group parts. So if the zombies come, I'm prepared with spare parts. All right, some of you may be interested. This is how I set up my Mutant. So we'll go tip to butt again, starting with the flashlight. This is the Surefire G2X Pro. I believe it's the one with the 2 brightness settings. And the mount itself is like an Odinworks 1-inch flashlight mount. Up next is the foregrip, and I had this on my AR-47 build, so I just kind of repurposed it. But I did chop it in half, and I did that for a couple of reasons. One, less likely to snag on stuff once you have gear on. Plus, number two, gives you a little bit more access when reloading magazines. Moving down, we have the trigger itself. I swapped out the mil-spec trigger and I put in the Geissele SSAE. Awesome 2-stage trigger, it's been around a long time. Reason why it's so well loved still. The grip is I believe it's the Sure Grip by Ergo, the Ergo Sure Grip, the right-hand model, which gives you a little shelf for your thumb right there. Love these grips. Stock itself is the CTR stock. Again, I think I had this on an AR-47, so just repurposed it. I love this stock. Simple, effective, relatively inexpensive. It just works. Moving up to the sights, I've got The primary arms, the micro prism, the 3 times. Love it. Great all-around optic. And I have it attached to the Midwest Industries. I believe it's their mini ACOG, quick detach. So if anything were to happen to the optic, quickly take it off, flip up the iron sights, which are the Troy Industries. I forget what they call it, like battle sights or something, but they're the foldable ones. These are really nice sights. I really like a good set of irons, and these work well for me. So everything else is stock, if I didn't mention it. So those are the changes that I've made. Magazine-wise, normally I run, I think this is the Gen 3 PMags, the one with like the metal retainer and the metal little slot up front as well. Good mags, but being the Mutant, it'll also accept basically any AK-47 mags. There's a Russian steel, use my Tula Bakelite, so it'll accept those as well. Did I have issues right out of the box? Yes, I did. It seems to be sort of mixed if people have had issues right out of the box or not. Some people, their Mutant's been fine. Others, like me, have had kind of some teething issues. I don't know. I'll try to provide a summary of the issues I experienced with my Mark 47. So this is going back about 6 months now. It was like late May when I purchased this rifle, and here we are in November of 23. So it started, the first range trip I had, I only put about 100 rounds or so, maybe it was 150 rounds through the Mutant, and I would get through 2, 3, or 4 rounds before I had a malfunction. And the malfunction was basically one of 2 things. When the rifle, when it was cycling around, it would either seat way too low, and the round itself would actually like hit the wall of the chamber, and I was getting bullet setbacks. I'll go ahead and roll a couple photos here of the issues I was having with the rounds. I was either having that would also stop the bullet from going all the way forward, or the bullet was going off of the feed ramp and it was going too high into the chamber and causing a stoppage just like that. It was like yeeting itself right off of the feed ramp and then just like getting stuck. And again, this was happening like every 2 or 3 or 4 rounds. It's super annoying. And I was using a plethora of ammunition as well as the magazines. Ammunition, I think I was using Norma brass case. I was using Russop's lacquered steel case. And then I was also using, I believe, Bellum brass case. Oh yeah, as well as M67 Yugo surplus. So out of all those, it didn't really matter. I was kind of having the same issues. Perhaps it was the magazines, but I was using my Tula magazine. I was using a bunch of Russian steel magazines that I had, and then also the Gen 2 and Gen 3 PMags. And again, it didn't matter the ammunition, didn't matter the magazines. I was having the same issues. I tried polishing the feed ramps to see if that would improve feeding at all, which it didn't really. I was getting 5 or 6 rounds through before I got the inevitable stoppage. And it was one of the 3 things, either bullet setback, an occasional light primer strike, or cartridge that was getting stuck high in the action. And again, I was using different ammunition, different magazines, didn't really make a difference. So, decided to contact CMMG. I give them a call, and I leave a message. Didn't hear anything for that day? Okay, I'll try the next day. Called them the next day, left a message, didn't hear anything. I'll let a couple days go by, didn't hear anything. So I decided to email them and email them all the information that I just told you. I also gave them the round count, the fact that I was using different magazines, different ammunition. I was telling them the feeding issues that I was having, and I clicked send. And I didn't hear anything for a week. 2 weeks go by, and I finally get a response from their customer service. That was 6 months ago, so I can only hope their customer service has gotten better since. Perhaps at the time they were still reeling with the blows that COVID-19 dealt pretty much everyone in the industry and in the world. But listen, CMMG, if you're listening to this average video that I'm making, you have got to be better about your customer service. For people like me, this is an absolute dream carbine that is not cheap, by the way, to own. And the fact that I didn't hear back for 2 full weeks from customer service, that is not confidence inspiring, nor does that make me feel good about this purchase. I have had plenty of interactions with people in forums, on YouTube videos, a couple people in person that had some teething issues like I've had, and were just so fed up with not hearing back or getting mixed information from customer service that they just flat out sold the rifle and wiped their hands clean of the whole interaction, which is sad because they never got to experience the full potential of the rifle. Plus, any further interaction they have now, if someone brings up CMMG, they have a negative experience, and this just furthers the issue and furthers the negative feedback that people are getting from customer service. So again, like, I truly want to believe in this company. American made, in theory, they make premium products, but man, you guys have got to get better about your customer service. That's all I'll say on that end. A little precarious. All right, so I understand this is getting a little long-winded, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up. So after the 2 weeks, I finally did get a hold of someone from customer service, and from then on, I will say, things were pretty smooth. So good on you guys there. So I shipped it off to CMMG, they sent me a tracking number, all that. I could see that they received it. 3 weeks go by, I hadn't heard anything from them, so I inquired. And they informed me that their RMAs are taking about 6 weeks to fulfill. So, gotta wait another 3 weeks. So patiently waited the 3 weeks. And I would say in about 6.5 weeks or so, I got the confirmation that they completed my RMA form. Sent me a video of them test firing it. I think they put like 10 or 15 rounds through flawlessly. So awesome. Quickly got it shipped back to me. And total time of all this is like about 7 weeks, 7.5 weeks, something like that. And give me a list of some of the stuff that they did. So they replaced the barrel assembly. I believe this is where they put more of a double feed ramp. I thought it was a single feed ramp. I mean, it's a very tame double feed ramp, so they definitely cut more aggressively, or just, according to this, replaced the barrel assembly. So they put a more aggressive like double feed ramp in there. What else did they do? They flex honed the chamber. Ooh. And they also replaced my gas tube, which I didn't really think was an issue, but all right. So finally got the rifle back, and at this point, there's only one more thing to do is see if the rifle works. All right, so here's the drill. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3 on the 100-yard target, reload, get to the second station, 1, 2, 3 on the about 175-yard target. Beep. The next range trip went a lot more smoothly. I was having fun, it was a beautiful day. I'm also fairly new to running drills, and a lot of the times I'll improvise my own drills, as I'm sort of doing here, so just bear with me. I wasn't getting the stoppage where the cartridge was getting caught up in the action. Well, not as much anyway. Oh. Fortunately, that stoppage was pretty rare. However, I was getting quite a few light strikes with the steel-cased ammunition. On closer inspection, looks like 2 light strikes. This is the Rusops lacquered steel case. I believe it's 123 grain, but Hey, right off the bat, man, 2 failure to fires from White Strikes right there.
Again, this is AR-47 mentality and problem solving that's going off in my brain. So I know that the firing pin is proprietary to the Mutant. And since CMMG has not developed an enhanced firing pin for the Mutant, obviously the firing pin's out of the equation. The next best thing to get your firing pin to punch through the tough, burden-primed steel case Russian ammunition is to enhance your hammer spring. So went ahead and bought the Wolf Extra Power hammer spring to punch through the steel cased ammunition. I even inquired about an enhanced firing pin when I was in discussions with customer service to potentially alleviate the problems of the light primer strikes. To my surprise, I not only did not get an answer regarding the light primer strikes, but on the completed RMA form when I received my rifle back along with the fixes, they even suggested putting the original mil-spec trigger back in to alleviate the light primer strike issues. Part of the selling point of the Mutant is to put your favorite AR-15 trigger group in. I was pretty taken aback by that answer, especially after all this time of trials and development, that they didn't have a solution for an extremely common AR-15 aftermarket trigger. The one I have, which is the SSAE, the Geissele. Again, why didn't CMMG offer this as a solution?
Dirty
I digress.
display, but nonetheless light strike.
And by the next range trip, how did it do? It did great, actually. Out of 200 or so rounds I shot, I did not have a single malfunction. And the next range trip, same thing, 200-ish rounds through. So in total, I've put about 4, maybe 500 rounds through on both those range trips, and I've not had a single malfunction. So only time will tell if this holds up.
Man, I consider myself in shape, but sprinting in elevation, that's a whole nother animal. So here in late 2023, early 2024, this is your field of play, or the options that you have for a 7.62x39 pattern rifle. That's neither an AKM pattern nor is an AR patterned. I might be leaving out a couple, but these are mainly the ones that you have to work with. So why the Mutant, if there are other options out there on the table now? When I was considering the Mutant about 7 or 8 months ago, the SIG MCX Spear LT had sort of just hit the scene. It's at the time was unproven. It's about $2,500, and it takes AR-47 mags, which isn't really a negative. So it's just something to consider. Again, with my AR-47 builds, I'd recommend the C Products Defense Duramags. However, with all those things included, I decided that wasn't really the route I wanted to go. The Mk.47 Descent is now the brother of the Mutant. However, at the time, 6-7 months ago, this was unavailable, nor did I know it was coming out. Pretty sweet with a side charge, bufferless design, which I believe the stock it comes with even folds to the side. However, it's about $2,500, so it's about $600 more than the Mutant. Again, it was unavailable at the time, unproven, and it's a little bit heavier than the Mutant itself. The BRN 180 seems to have some things going for it. It is an upper receiver, but it does fit standard AR-15 lowers. It's made with a proper bolt for the 7.62x39 round, unlike an AR-47 bolt. It's got a side charger, which is pretty sweet. It's relatively affordable. Sure, you're going to be spending some money, but what isn't expensive on this field of play? It's about $1,000 for the upper. However, at the time of this video, it's about $800 on sale. And to my knowledge, they go on sale from time to time, so I suppose wait for a deal. However, I was reading mixed accounts on reliability, and kind of for that reason, I wasn't completely sold on the BRN 180 for whatever reason. So I kind of dished that out as an option as well. When PSA dropped the news 2 or so years ago that they were in development of their Jackal line, of course the 5.56 option was going to be the first developed. However, they also stated that they'd be looking into development of the 300 Blackout version, which I believe is out now, also a 7.62x39 option. And the 7.62x39, from everything I'd read in the past year or so, was supposed to be coming out this quarter of 2023. Obviously, that's not the case, and I can only assume they're still in development of the 7.62x39 option. However, if anyone can spill the beans or has an inside scoop, please share it with all of us, because I am excited about that coming out in the future. So in my quest to be a modern 7.62x39 firearm, it really came down to two options. The IWI Galil Ace 1.0 or 2.0, but let's be honest, people want insane money for the first gens, or the CMMG Mutant. Both of these options, at least on paper, have proven reliability, and out of all the other options here on the field, have been around the longest. Both are similarly priced, and both take AK mags. I guess it's a little bit of gas piston versus direct impingement. However, both are proven to be reliable systems, so that wasn't really a deal breaker for me either way. Direct impigement's obviously a little bit lighter because you don't have the piston, so I guess a slight bump to the Mutant there. But what it really came down to was my AR-47 background. I love those rifles, and I wanted so bad for them to be my go-to rifle, but I knew they never would be because of the limitations of the bolt and the extractor. So, the CMMG really checked the two boxes of reliability. Bolt extractor and the magazines. I mean, the AK pattern magazines are the most reliable because of the taper of the 7.62x39 round. So for those reasons alone, because it solved what I was ultimately after, I set my sights on the Mutant.
Other things I've noticed about this rifle after owning it for a bit of time is that it likes to get dirty. Combine direct impingement with dirty Russian ammunition, and it's just a recipe for a dirty bolt carrier group. I typically run about 200 to 250 rounds of ammo at a typical range session, and towards the end, the bolt's getting pretty sticky. I usually run the bolt carrier group pretty wet, which might actually attract more gunk in the bolt carrier group. So maybe I'll play with the oil levels and see how that goes. Either way, I don't mind cleaning my rifle after a range session. Something else about the Mutant that deserves to be pointed out, and something that you won't find in a stat sheet anywhere, is that the Mutant feels very durable, and as long as your magazines are tight and not worn out, the rifle just feels very well built, which I would hope so for an expensive rifle.
Shh, don't think about
the weight balance is also very good on this rifle. It's got that, do I say 60% back, 40% forward weight distribution going on, which feels really good. It makes the rifle feel even lighter than it is. Although this is a relatively light rifle, coming in, I believe, just over 7 pounds, a little bit over 9 when it's decked out and accessorized like mine, and that's including a MTP mag as well as my sling. But it feels a lot like the M1 Garand. If you guys have ever held one, shot one, owned one, you know that feeling. The M1 Garand's about 9.5 pounds, but it feels a lot lighter than it is because of the balance on it. It's got that almost like it wants to creep back into your shoulder feel. This is very much in contrast with an AKM pattern rifle that has a very front-loaded feel to it because of the piston. Overall, I feel that I've set up the rifle to my liking after several range trips and roughly 1,200 rounds through. I hope this rifle continues to serve me well moving forward, and it earns the reliability and the title of my go-to rifle. Many gun tubers give glowing reviews of the Mutant, but if you dig a little bit deeper and read comments on YouTube, forums, on Reddit, it seems to be a mixed bag whether people have a reliable gun right away or if they're having issues. CMMG in no way, shape, or form sponsored this video, nor do they even know who I am. I'm just an average man, and I understand that my rifle is a single unit out of thousands produced.
That's good boy. That's good boy.
So that's my review thus far, about 7 months and 1,200 rounds in. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this video. I'll have a part 2 sometime in the future. I just want to get many more rounds through this and see how it's holding up. So, that being said, I'm an extremely average man, and right now I'm going to go spend more time with my girlfriend since I took a lot of time and energy making this video. So, thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Speak. 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 Good boy. Some visitors at the range today.
Get ready. Stand by.